Welcome to the Prime People Podcast. I'm your host, Justin Konikow, and this is the number one place to get all the best tips for marketing, sales, productivity, and media. In today's episode, we actually interview Michelle Tanner, a luxury yacht chief stewardess in a former life, and how those skills translate to working with high-profile clients. Today, she plans amazing events like Tanner's Turkey and so many other things we are going to get into. And this is an interactive show. We do this every Tuesday from 1 to 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, live on this YouTube channel. If you want to interact with us, just come to that channel, hit that subscription button, jump into the comments, let me know who you are, where you're from, and what your questions are. And this is super interactive in a few different ways. If you get into our inner circle, then you can come on live onto the show himself, and I can get you the StreamYard link so you can meet our guests in person. But not to delay any longer, I know you're very busy prepping for Tanner's Turkeys. How is Michelle Tanner today?
I am fantastic. How are you?
I'm doing very, very well. I'm hyper caffeinated, if you cannot tell. But what's going on in the Tanner's Turkey world first, and then we'll dig into your past as a luxury yacht stewardess.
Sure, absolutely. So our event is less than a week away. So next Wednesday is our big fundraising event. So we are prepping for that, still doing ticket sales and collecting silent auction items and prepping all that. So super excited. This will be our 12th annual Tanner's Turkey event. So super excited.
Well, if you've done it for 12 years, it seems pretty important to you. What does event planning mean to you, and how do you incorporate it into your business?
Well, I would say that event planning can become a full-time job, and I would love to create a board or a committee that is with me year to year. But for the most part, it's me and my assistant Skylar that started this planning back in June. So we have one big fundraising event, and that is next week. And everybody that loves us comes out and supports us, and it's just a great event. So we have live music, silent auction, heavy appetizers, there's a cash bar, and it's just a fun evening. You know, each ticket feeds a family. So that's near and dear to our hearts, because our goal is to feed 500 families for Thanksgiving.
Well, you definitely have to be a bit of an organizational wizard to manage all that. So kudos to you. We were talking before. I support a lot of events. The planning of the events and execution, I leave that in the hands of the pros. But let's dig into your backstory a little bit. I know the reason that I brought you on the podcast was we were having a conversation about what you did in your previous life. You were a stewardess on luxury yachts. I was like, that's fascinating, because the same personalities you deal with on those yachts are buying real estate. And we know that there are habits and things about how they operate that, maybe people aren't privy to. So maybe give us a little bit of background. How did you get into being a stewardess on luxury yachts?
I really got into it on pure accident. After college, I was not ready for a real career. And I ended up working at a Club Med, and then did a Club Med vacation because I was transitioning from childcare to boating at Club Med, and I wanted to change locations. And they sent me on a 5-star dive resort Club Med vacation. I met somebody doing a delivery on a yacht, and I literally was walking the docks asking for a job in the pouring rain. I had no idea what a stewardess even was, and I didn't know Fort Lauderdale was the yachting capital of the world, but landed a job the second day I was walking. And it was really interesting. The first boat I worked on was super interesting. That was a 100-foot boat. That was the smallest one I worked on.
Oh my goodness.
The last one I worked on was 170 foot. So that was a whole different ball game.
What would a boat like that be worth, like approximately?
The last one that I knew that sold that I worked on was 34 million.
Wow. So a $34 million boat. What type of person owns that boat?
Usually there's just one owner, not really a corporation, but usually a business owner of some sort. We would also charter, so they would leverage their expenses by chartering it out, and we chartered out for $170,000 a week, and that's just your base price. That doesn't include your food, fuel, dockage, gratuity, and all that stuff. So,
Wow.
Yeah.
But it's funny because they actually will use this as a business investment as well too. So do they treat it like an Airbnb? Like they'll rent the boat out and charter the boat out to other people that maybe can't buy a $34 million boat to bring their clients on and so on and so forth?
Absolutely. And there's tons of companies that actually do these placements. So there's charter companies that literally just place people on a boat. They find out what they want. We get their preference sheet. They find out how long they want to be on it, where they want to be. We did the Med for 3 summers. I did one Atlantic crossing, which was crazy. But
how long did that take?
14 days.
Oh my goodness. In the ocean, like literally nothing in sight, right? Except water.
Yeah. That's like a check it off your bucket list and don't return to do that again.
That's wild. But I think, again, thinking about it as a business investment, a lot of these people, they're pretty savvy and they're buying boats, they're buying real estate, they're buying all kinds of things. When you got your foot in the door, obviously, and started working on the boats, you said you didn't know what being a stewardess meant. What's like the day-to-day look like for somebody that's doing that job? And what did you learn that job entailed?
So a stewardess on a yacht is very much a glorified waitress. You are serving all the meals. You're also the bartender. You're making all the drinks. You're also doing housekeeping. So we call it heads and beds on a boat.
Sure.
But you're also assisting the chef. You're assisting the first mate and the captain as well. And as you're communicating with every department head as the chief stewardess, because if a toilet breaks, then you're calling the engineer. So you're literally the communication within the inner workings of the boat, just to make sure everything runs smoothly.
That's super interesting because as you're talking about the staff, I'm like that. I'm sure that comes with their own sets of challenges and all the different personalities from the captain down to the chefs. I come from hospitality, so I know what that's like. That is a great skill set to translate into real estate. I mean, you kill it in your area right now, and you've translated those skills into real estate, but you really have to know how to work with different types of people to get to the end goal of providing the ultimate client experience, right? And so let's reverse engineer that. When somebody gives their sheet of what they want when they charter the boat, does that mean I want to go, fishing, or I want to go to this island for a week, or like, what does the request look like? And then how do you take that request and make sure that it's fulfilled to the level that you want to fulfill it?
So depending on where we're at really is what we're able to do with the guests, but the preference sheet is a lot centered around food, what their likes are, what they don't like. Usually there's one head charter guest, and it's usually a couple, and those people are paying the entire expense for the whole week, and they're inviting their guests. So we had 5 cabins for guests on the boat. So that's, 5 couples. Sometimes there would just be 4. Sometimes it was a family. But they'll say what they like to do. So, if they want to do the jet skis, or if they want to go do a tour on land, or whatever it is they want to do, we'll make it happen. We're also the concierge. So if they want to book dinner ashore, we would find out, we'd know the best places to go, book their dinner. We did a lot of beach picnics, which is a lot of work, but
I can imagine it would be.
With candles and the whole lot. We'd even do the sunset beach picnics. But we had 10 crew full time. Wow. And imagine just living with everybody you work with year round.
You get to know a lot about them, I bet. Probably more than you wanted to know, right?
Yeah.
That's super interesting. And I can see how that translates into running a team, right? Or coming back and looking at client experience, that same luxury, yacht owner looking to purchase a home. I guess, how have you thought about the client experience in your current job as a real estate agent, and being in that luxury yacht world? Like, how have you built your business or ingrained that into how you treat your clients or the experience they have with you as a realtor?
Right. Well, I mean, I really believe for real estate, like whatever it takes is really what I center my mantra around. Like for a client, like whatever it takes, like we'll get the deal accepted, we'll get it to closing, like just a no fail result where we're going to get to the finish line. We're going to problem solve along the way. So how that translates, I think, to the yacht client is they have high expectations. They want results. They don't want you to tell them, sorry, no, we can't do that today. It's too windy that, we got to find a place where it's not windy so they can get what they want to do to happen. But we had the wow experience on the yachts, which I really loved. So I was trained by a British butler and also people that went through Ritz-Carlton. So that level of training. So we would anticipate what you want before you ask for it. And I love, like let's say you have a problem property and somebody's out of state. We can actually make sure that everything happens for them to sell the house at the highest price in the least amount of time. Even people that are out of state, we're able to do that for them, and just the wow experience where they're extremely happy at the end.
And that's incredible. I actually was grabbing my notebook because I wanted to make a note of something to ask you later on that you mentioned. Okay. It's all translates, and it all really does cross boundaries, right? Regardless of if you're dealing with high-end clients, low-end clients, everything in the middle. I don't think that there's any exclusion. I think the customer experience, people want what they want, and they're paying good money for it. The person that buys a $34 million yacht, that may be like somebody buying a $160,000 home, because to that person, that amount of money is treated very similarly. So, I love the thought and the mindset around treating everybody like a luxury client. I know you have one of the biggest hearts for our industry, for giving back, obviously, with Tanner's Turkeys. How do you, I guess, what are the key components of that client experience that you look for? Is it communication? Is it, sending them checklists? Like, how do you actually deliver that experience to a client?
Definitely communication. And I also like to know what their expectations are. Are they looking to find, the best house that is move-in ready? They don't have to get anything done. It's going to be a higher price point because it's ready. Or do they want to get a deal and they want something that needs some cosmetic work, and that don't want to have to pay the very top dollar for? So really listening, I think that's the biggest quality we could all have as real estate agents, is listening to our clients' needs. And if they have problems, figuring out what that problem is and getting a solution. I mean, sometimes we have somebody approach us that has a problem property. We've encountered a couple hoarders this year. And, it was a family member selling for another family member, but giving them, A, B, C options, not just putting them in a box and saying, this is what we got to do to get it sold. Like, you can have this price and do this amount of work, this price and do this, and so on. Because then they feel like they're in the driver's seat, especially if you have that, high D personality where they want to be in charge. Giving them options, putting it back in their lap really makes it a smoother process.
Well, some people, you're not even going to get them to agree to whatever might be the best solution. So you may be better off to let them come to that solution on their own, and then you execute. I think it's super interesting what you brought up, because you can have, a very expensive product that saves you a whole lot of time and has every feature you could possibly imagine. The price doesn't really matter to you, so you pay that price. You have people that will pay a very, very low price, not necessarily care about the quality of the service delivery or the product that they're buying, because it's kind of a throwaway in their mind. I think people are looking for really good value at a great price. I think that's where, you and I probably align in terms of being able to provide really good service and know where the value is in the transaction, and how to kind of draw that out of people. We have a whole bunch of people here right now. Olivier Maurice is here. He said he's after Matt. Matt actually dropped in the timer and was given you some love, Michelle. We also see, I'm sure this is Ginger Walker. Hello, Sunshine. These are two amazing people, and Michelle is an amazing resource for the community. These are all people that are on the Practical and Tactical Facebook group. If you can't see their names, it's because you need to click and allow StreamYard to show your name. But awesome that you guys are here. And Matt actually jumped in. He said 100% agree. Too many salespeople with commission breath recently, especially. Yeah, I do agree with that. I think there's a lot of agents that are just trying to get a deal to the finish line, and they're not really thinking about the people on the boat you probably had to think about the people before they thought about themselves, because all kinds of crazy stuff happens on boats, all kinds of weather. How did you always stay a couple steps ahead in order to take care of your people that were on the boat?
Well, the 5-star service is huge, and that's what we had all the time. So let's say you were up on the top deck and you were having a drink and you were reading a book, and you put your book down, and then it was time to get ready for dinner. You came downstairs, you got ready, you went to the dinner table. We would actually retrieve your book. We would put it at your bedside table with your reading glasses. We would turn down the bed. We would even potentially pull out your PJs and iron them on the bed. And you would come to your room at night and be like, oh my gosh, look at this. There's my pajamas, my book that I left upstairs. So like that 5-star type service was just incredible that we did. Ironing the bed sheets at night was one I always kind of had to wrap my head around. Like, really, we're doing this? But, we did unbelievable things to make people happy. And it was always fun. I love the bartending aspect of it. And just, we would do a different centerpiece on the table every single night. So I remember we had a golf trip, and I invited, we had dinner for the last night of these guys that were big golfers. And we literally did like a 9-hole golf course in the middle of the table for their last night. And they were just like taking pictures, and, it's that wow experience and the unexpected. But, solving people's problems is what I was always taught by my mother to do in real estate. And, she was so amazing where she could get it from contract to close. It didn't matter what the problem was, like getting to the solution. So I think service at a very high level on top of problem solving is like the key to success.
I think that's phenomenal. Those two words describe you to a T. And the story you told about the book and, leaving it on the upper deck and going out for dinner and coming back and your PJs are ironed and the centerpiece is it's really bringing forth visuals in my mind of, man, you are solving a lot of problems. You are giving people that kind of shock and awe experience that they wouldn't expect while still doing everything else that you're doing in your job. Mm-hmm. You mentioned something earlier that I wanted to bring up, though. A lot of this you had to train and learn, right? It probably wasn't native. You said you did training with the Ritz-Carlton. Can you dive into that? Maybe some of the key core principles you learned from that in terms of dealing with luxury clients?
I think a lot of the stuff happened behind the scenes. But also if we would be passing through, say, the main salon and somebody was talking to one of their friends and like, oh, I could really go for a hot fudge sundae right now. Like, we would go make a hot fudge sundae and bring it to them without asking them if they wanted it. Mm-hmm. So I find when I go out to restaurants, I'm attuned to the waitresses a little too much. And it's like, if you've been in service, then if it's not exceptional. But instead of them seeing an empty glass and you're in the middle of a conversation, them say, would you like a refill? Just go refill it. Mm-hmm. Don't interrupt their conversation. Just do it. But imagine, that happening. You're like, oh my gosh, how did you know I wanted a hot fudge sundae? Like, it's just anticipating, also getting in front of the problem before it comes up. I think that's a huge thing as well, because I don't feel like we have a problem until there is a problem. And then it's good to recognize what could potentially come up and solve those in advance. I
think that's super smart. Anticipating your client's needs and finding mm-hmm. ways to fill those needs. That's why people hire us. I think the public's very confused about real estate agents. A lot of them don't like us because our industry's done a very poor job in terms of over promising and under delivering. Every agent will sell the world to their clients, put them on an auto portal, never call them again, and be like, I don't know why they fired me. They hired somebody else. I'm like, because you didn't do anything, right? You added no value. On the seller side, when I got in the business, people would sign like a year listing agreement in some places, never call their client, call them a week before closing. Hey, I got to leave for your property. Oh, sign this renewal and I'll take it. It's like, they know what you're doing, right? I think it's super interesting how you took training from the Ritz-Carlton and then kind of brought that in. And you think about in a shifting market now, for sure in Canada, it's shifting in a huge way. Our job isn't necessarily just to bring them offers, because if the offers aren't going to be there, there's nothing we can do. You can price right. It can be staged amazing. If the buyers are not showing up and it's a game of, waiting for rate hike changes, announcements, or another shift in the market, our job then becomes information, right? Because we can bring them offers or we can give them information. And if the information is telling them, yeah, actually you got to drop your price and just be realistic and sell, great. Mm-hmm. If the information is we're seeing a shift in the market and, in 8 to 12 months, you're going to be in this place, then that's our job as well too. Mm-hmm. when did you make this switch? Like, when did you decide to get out of stewarding the luxury yachts and getting into real estate? Explain to me how that happened, because that seems like a bit of a pivot.
Well, there is a burnout period if you're in any job that's intense like that, because if I was on the night crew, I'd stay up until the last person went to bed. So I can remember we had a 5-week charter, and in that 5 weeks you don't get days off. There's no downtime. There's 12 to 16 hour days, and that's it. So there's a high burnout period in yachting. So I basically quit the job and went and took a year off and traveled the world, and I got recruited back by an owner. And so I went and worked for him for a while. And then my mom actually needed a lung transplant, and I was single and she was single. So I turned in my yachting card and went and got my real estate license. And she was my real estate mentor, and she was how I got in.
So tell me a little bit about your mom. Where did she sell? How long did she sell for? What was her style? What was she like?
Yeah, in Ohio. So she owned a Remax brokerage, actually.
Cool.
And it was a smaller brokerage. But when I came in, she needed to have that lung transplant. So I kind of got thrown into the deep end, like covering her listing appointments and working with her buyers. She probably carried about 50 listings at any time, all with the 1-800 numbers. We had a lot of call capture. This is way back when, 2005. She was a top agent in our small town. And funny enough, there was another real estate company in that small town called Tanner Real Estate. And that is brokered still today by my dad. He just celebrated 50 years in real estate. And my sister is also the broker of that company. So we're in a small town, and mom and one daughter at one brokerage and mom and another daughter at another brokerage, sometimes going for the same listing appointments. So it was very interesting, but she was tough. But she had style, and she could problem solve, and I would just listen to her on the phone, and I could still, unfortunately she passed in 2020, but I could still hear her voice in my head, guiding me.
That's amazing. I'm sure lots of those conversations are going to be etched in your brain whenever problems come up. You'll be like, I know the solution to this. I heard this one time from just being in proximity. I think that's an important thing, right? And that's honestly why I do the podcast. For anybody that's never seen this podcast before, though, I don't coach, I don't sell, I don't recruit, I sell real estate. And that's how I make my money. But I did it because I think getting around people that are doing things at a high level is important. Hearing ideas from different people and mind sharing is super, super important. And I always find that you can draw inspiration from what other people are doing and make it your own and do it with your own style. What features do you think you drew or skills from your mom that are now ingrained in your business, maybe with your own flavor? Because I'm sure her fingerprints are all over how you do your job.
I mean, definitely a hard work ethic, strong work ethic. I can remember her going to sleep at night at 11 o'clock with files in her bed, like she lived and breathed real estate. But also the problem solving is huge. Those two things, absolutely. But also she taught us, like, you don't say no and there is no can't. Like, you just don't. And even with my 9-year-old daughter, I'm like, nope, we don't say can't in this house. You have to figure out a way, and there's always more than one solution.
It's not no, it's not yet, right? Or Absolutely. Until you tell me never to call you again. So it's going to be one of those two conversations. Right. But no, that's awesome. And I guess, what's exciting you now, right? I think you've taken quite a few lessons from your previous job. You're obviously successful in real estate and event planning. What's next for Michelle? Like, what excites you about your future?
Well, I'm building a team. I'm really concentrating on doing this the right way. I did attempt this in 2020, but it really wasn't the right timing. And attracting full-time real estate agents that are committed to the job. They really have to want it for themselves and have to set those goals. And you never can have goals that you never want to want it more than a team member on your team. So it's the plugging in. I mean, we know if you've been in real estate for more than 2 years, it's that consistent follow-up and follow through and getting in touch with your past clients. I'm inviting all my past clients to this upcoming event. So not only is it a fundraiser for, the community and for charity, but it's also a client event. So we actually ended up getting a couple clients just because we did this for the community, which Sure. I was really surprised. But early on, I really didn't share it with clients because I didn't want to ask them for something. But then somebody said, no, invite them. The people that love this, will support you, and they'll show up. And that's exactly what happened. So now I'm like shouting it from the rooftops.
I love that mindset. I had a good mutual friend of ours actually tell me about, putting out information, running stuff like this. And they're like, you don't have the right not to share those things with your clients. They can decide if they want to say no. If they don't want to support Tanner's Turkeys, you have to give them the opportunity to say no. And it doesn't mean that they don't like you. It just means that maybe they have something else that they're devoting their time or their money to right now. But if you don't tell them, how will they possibly know? The one thing you mentioned in that conversation, going back to the team building topic that a lot of our viewers care about, right? I don't care if you're in real estate or any other industry, building a team of like-minded individuals with a vision and end goal, super important. In our business specifically, what do you think those core skills are that they need to be doing daily to succeed?
Making their calls, having their conversations, getting in front of people. You don't want to be a secret agent, and you really have to have a quality conversation every single day. If you don't have clients yet, you got to make those calls, and the goal is to set those appointments. And my mom would always say, make your calls. As long as when you set 3 appointments for the week, you can go home.
Your mom's
awesome.
Like
3 calls or 3 appointments a week. And then if you think about that, like, okay, it's not about the number of calls. No. It's about the number of conversations and ultimately the appointments, because only appointments can lead to contracts. So I think that's hugely important.
So I'm writing down The War of Art. I always send a book to one of my guests that I think they will enjoy. Do you like audiobooks or regular books? You probably like regular books, but you don't have time, so you listen to more audiobooks.
You're exactly right. I'm a single mom, and we're in the thick of softball season, so I think audiobooks is
I'm going to get you an audiobook so you actually listen to it, and then you may like it so much that you'll actually read it. But it really tells the story of artists, right? It doesn't matter if you're a musician, you're an actor, you're an athlete, you're a real estate agent, whatever the activity is that your job entails. Like, what is the action you have to do to reach success? If you don't pick up the camera, pick up the paintbrush, pick up the guitar, pick up the phone consistently, the muse or the success is never going to show up. And I think you touched on such a good point there that, like, what are your daily activities? Are you actually prospecting, right? Which is the most important thing in our business. And I'd say 80% of agents don't do it. I see it from a high level community and agency perspective, right? The agents here are really good at it. I should point that out, but that's a separate conversation for another day. What if you're a brand new agent and you have nobody in your database? How could you call nobody? Like, how would you start building out your database?
Yeah. Well, what I told the 2 girls that recently joined the team is make a list of your top 50. These are 50 people that'll either refer you business in the next 12 months or give you business themselves as a buyer or seller. They can be a friend of your parents. They can be a friend of your boyfriend's mother. It doesn't matter. Make a list of your top 50 and then mail up a handwritten note to them with your business card, letting them know you're in real estate. Because I brought on 2 brand new agents, which most people don't want to do because it's a whole nother level of training when you're bringing on a new agent. But I'm super excited for both of them.
Yeah, we can talk about that off channel sometime. I love it. I actually find like getting veteran agents sometimes isn't great unless it's the right person, because a lot of times you can't ingrain in them how you want to actually deliver service to your clients, buyers, sellers, and especially coming from your background would be probably pretty special. So I'm excited for you, excited for your growth. I'm going to hit you with the rapid fire round of questions, and I'm going to get you out of here so you can go pack your turkeys in your cooler truck and get them where they got to go. So up to this point, what is the greatest lesson you've learned?
In real estate or in life?
In life.
In life. Surround yourself with people who support you and who will elevate you and help you grow. Love
that answer. So 80% of your brain knows how to get a deal done, knows how to make things happen. 20% of your brain is probably excited about something completely random, or you're learning something new. Maybe it's YouTube, maybe it's crypto. I don't know. What is that 20% of your brain learning right now that maybe you're not super used to, or something new for you?
Video.
It's exciting.
Putting myself on camera like we are right now. But, I did some shooting this morning, and it is really tough to video myself.
Guess what? It's tough for me too. It's tough for everybody, right? And I think it's what we just talked about. You're telling your agents, pick up the phone and call. You're telling yourself, turn on the recording camera and just shoot, right?
Yeah,
so just press record. It's all good. You got a good personality. How has failure shaped your life?
That's tough. That's tough. I think I keep as I age and I don't, if somebody challenges me, I'm always up for the challenge. So in business, it's completely different. But I think personally, I think failure has made me create a smaller circle. It's the inner circle.
Yep.
It's people like you who I will let in, and I'll be vulnerable because I trust you already. So I think that's a big part. Is I was always the extrovert and doing everything. And I was a naive girl from Ohio who lived in a boat, which is basically a bubble floating on the water for 8 years, and then moved to Florida and had some challenges with, people that took advantage financially. And to this day, it's still a thorn in my side.
High walls, there's nothing wrong with that, right? Of keeping your circle tight. I truly believe I invest in those that invest in me. If people signal to me that there's somebody very different than they pretended they were, all good. No factor. That's how they want to live their life. Go for it. But I went through very similar walks. So I can definitely appreciate that perspective. And I do think it made you stronger for it. And I appreciate you being on the show. I guess I can't try and recruit you now, right? Since you told me that I wasn't going to. I'm just kidding. Last, most important question for everybody. Everybody pay attention. If you're listening to the audio podcast, pay attention. If you're on YouTube, hit subscribe, but pay attention. Michelle Tanner, you made time for me to dig into your brain on how to sell, the client experience, and everything else. I want to make time for you. My platform is yours. What message do you have for everybody out there? Do you want them to support Tanner's Turkeys? Point them in any direction you please. My platform is yours.
Wow. I'd say believe in yourself, find something you're passionate about, and put your heart into your work, and people will see that. And just don't, get up every day and just keep believing in yourself. Don't ever give up.
I appreciate you. If you're listening to this, do not give up. If you need inspiration, go find Michelle on Instagram. Links will be in the show notes below. Appreciate you as always, Michelle, and good luck with the event. I'm super excited for you.
Thank you. Whatever it takes.
Have a good day. Take care.
Bye.
For more videos like this, please like and subscribe to my channel. If you want to get a hold of me, please give me a call, send me a text or an email, and I'm happy to reach out to you to assist you with all your real estate dreams.